Welcome back to our continuing coverage here on CNBC TV 18 on the big cabinet reshuffle. This exercise of cabinet reshuffle is once again a reconfirmation of the fact that there are only two individuals at the end of the day in India who actually know which minister is going to get which portfolio. For the longest time, everybody thought that there would be no change in the top four portfolios of home, defense, external affairs, but clearly at this point in time, this is an official confirmation now that Arun Jaitley will no longer be the Defence Minister of India. He will only be handling the Ministry of Finance. Nirmala Sitharaman has been appointed now as India's next Defence Minister. She will be only the second woman Defence Minister since Indira Gandhi took charge of the ministry many, many years ago. Apart from that, Piyush Goyal, I think that's the only name that has been, that the media overall across the country got right. He is going to be the next Railway Minister. Suresh Prabhu, who many thought might go to environment, he will be replacing Nirmala Sitharaman as the next Commerce Minister of India. Very important because remember, in the month of December, a very crucial WTO ministerial will be taking place. So Suresh Prabhu will not have much time to actually really, keep up with with some of the contentious debates, especially at a time when India and China are taking a more confrontational stand against the developed world owing to various subsidies that are being given out. Apart from that, Smriti Irani, she retains her portfolio of information and broadcasting. Dharmendra Pradhan, apart from just being the oil minister, he has been given the additional charge of skills development, clearly with an eye on the elections coming up in Orissa. Nitin Gadkari, we are told, has got water resources, but it's still a bit unclear whether water resources is in addition to his ministry of roads, transports and highway. And importantly, the name that we've got now confirmation on is Mr. R.K. Singh, former Home Secretary, will be taking over from Piyush Goyal. He's going to be India's next power minister. Let's get some reactions going. Mr. A.K. Bhattacharya, editorial director of Business Standard. I mean, how should one respond to this, Mr. Bhattacharya? Big news coming in. Nirmala Sitharaman clearly appears to have got an A++ grade from Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the only second woman defense minister since Indira Gandhi. Your quick take, sir.
Well, I look at it as a performance matrix doing its work. Clearly both the railway minister and the commerce and industry minister did not do very well in neither of the ministries. So, I mean, Railway Ministry had problems, and I think in the Commerce and Industry Ministry, in the specific task of raising exports and even cleaning up the system of industrial development as well as the FDI policy, there's a lot of objectives and goals that had not been fully realized. So both on the exports performance front for Nirmala Sitharaman's ministry and the railways in terms of ensuring safety as well as taking railways to a faster path of development, there were a lot that left to be desired. So I think what this reshuffle shows is that by shifting Nirmala Sitharaman to Defense Ministry, where you wanted a fully dedicated minister to take care of India's Make in India program, as well as take care of the huge gaps in investments that have risen over the last few months in meeting India's critical defense requirements, that energy is sought to be given there. And on the question of commerce and industry, you have once again a new minister who is hopefully will be focused more on tackling India's economic growth challenge, because please remember, India's economic growth challenge is largely hobbled by abysmally poor growth rate on exports front. So therefore, on both the areas, I see these changes are actually performance-related, that both the ministers were not doing something that yielded positive results for the respective sectors, and yet they were essentially able performers in a general context. So the positions have been changed for both of them.
In fact, absolutely, AKB, you're making some very important points. In fact, we'll also come to you in terms of what the immediate challenges will be for both Nirmala Sitharaman as Defense Minister and Mr. Suresh Prabhu as Commerce Minister. But also, it's important, AKB, because now with Nirmala Sitharaman's appointment as the defense minister, you've got two women ministers in the top four. So is there also a larger message that Narendra Modi is trying to send out?
Well, it's a matter of coincidence in my view. I don't think there was any design behind this appointment. It looks good. It's like having woman directors on the board. So it's a good thing that if you can find a woman who can be part of your cabinet committee on securities. But I don't think it was part of any grand design to have larger woman representation on the cabinet committee on securities. But as I said, they're competent people. But as it turned out that she wasn't delivering on the commerce and industry front, whereas Suresh Prabhu was not delivering on the railways front. So the position have been switched for both of them, and hopefully things will change for the better.
Mr. Bhattacharya, like a few days ago, there was a lot of talk that India may go in and Modi government may go in for these mega ministries, and that's where Mr. Gadkari's name was also being thrown around as possibly having one sort of transport vertical across land, sea, air. What may have changed the government's mind on creating that mega ministry? I remember in the morning you were making some important point. If you could sort of refresh that again for our viewers.
I mean, to that extent, I am a little disappointed because this was probably the last chance for the Modi government to implement and fulfill its promise of minimum government while delivering maximum governance. And there was an opportunity for the Prime Minister to merge some of the ministries, particularly in the transportation sector, as well as in the energy sector, barring atomic energy at least. And there was, of course, then opportunity of, instead of right now, you have got 4 different cabinet ministers on different industry segments right now. So do you really need a one mega industry ministry which takes care, and you had a person in Suresh Prabhu who could actually give direction to that thing. So my sense is that this was an opportunity lost of creating mega ministries and ensuring better governance through minimum government. But I think the government was acutely conscious of its talent deficit, which is why you have seen these at least these 4 technocrats who are joining the ministry, and one of them is taking charge of a very critical segment of the economy, which is power and coal and non-conventional energy resources, R.K. Singh. So I think why this mega ministry creation for better governance could not happen is probably because that the Modi government admitted that it has got a talent deficit, and it may probably make better sense that if you have better people to man these mega ministries rather than do something which may be a half-hearted job and may not achieve the kind of result that has been desired.
In fact, Mr. Bhattacharya, what we now know is that while Mr. R.K. Singh, as you rightly said, he will be the next Minister of Power, but it seems Piyush Goyal will still continue to be the Minister of Coal. So that is something important, clarification that has just come in. So Piyush Goyal, apart from just being the Railway Minister, will also be the Minister of Coal, whereas Mr. R.K. Singh, former Home Secretary and MP from Bihar, he will be heading the Ministry of Power. I think we also have with us Mr.
Anil combination.
Razdan, thank you very much.
Yeah. This is a strange combination. Yes, it's never before in the past that coal and the railway ministry have been the same.
Right. No, indeed. And I think that will be something interesting how he juggles between the two because, at the end of the day, as Mr. Bhattacharya and some others have also been talking about, there might have perhaps been a sort of a limitation of bench strength, and that is why some ministers taking over dual roles, in some cases even more than 2 roles. Anil Razdan also joining on the phone line. Mr. Razdan, so important news coming in. Finally, we have confirmation. Minister of Power will be R.K. Singh. Minister of Coal, that portfolio will still continue to be with Mr. Piyush Goyal. How do you see these developments, sir?
See, I think the relationship of coal with the railways is as important as its relationship with the Ministry of Power. Because while the Ministry of Power is the major consumer of coal, most movement of coal is only through the railways. In fact, as Power Secretary by coordination would be between the Railways, Coal Ministry and the Ministry of Power. So I think rail movement, opening up the new lines which are coming out to serve the new coal mines which are going to be opened up is a very important task before the government.
Right, absolutely. And in fact, just to take our viewers through the list that we have now, Satyapal Singh, newly inducted into the Council of Ministers, he will be the next Minister of State for Human Resource Development. As I said, Piyush Goyal will retain the portfolio of Ministry of Coal. Hardeep Puri, he will be the next Minister of State for Housing and Urban Affairs. Again, a man with has illustrious background in IFS. He's now going to take charge of housing and urban affairs. Mr. Pratap Shukla, he has been told to work under the leadership of Arun Jaitley. So, because Mr. Gangwar will now be the Minister of State for Labour and Employment, so perhaps he will be replacing Mr. Gangwar as the MOS. Let's also try and get in some reactions. We had a word with Nirmala Sitharaman, Dharmendra Pradhan, who spoke soon after being sworn in as the new cabinet ministers. Both of them, take a look at what they said.
2019 तक हमारे मैनिफेस्टो में जितने भी वायदे किए हैं हम 2014 में, उसको फुलफिल करने के लिए क्या काम हो रही है सरकार में और क्या और बाकी है, उसके ऊपर ज़रूर हम बात करते रहेंगे। प्राइवेट सेक्टर को उभर कर ऊपर आने के लिए उनको क्या सपोर्ट देना है, उसके लिए खोजना, उनसे बात करना, और इंटरनेशनल स्तर पर हमारे ट्रेड टॉक्स के ऊपर और भारत को फ़ायदा मिले ऐसे ट्रीटी साइन करना, और WTO में हमारे जो भी बचा हुआ है एजेंडा, डेवलपमेंट एजेंडा, उसको आगे ले चलना, ऐसे बहुत सारे हैं काम।
मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का आभारी हूं। उन्होंने हमको इस प्रकार की एक भूमिका में जिम्मेदारी दिया है। 2022 तक भारत को एक नई ऊंचाई तक ले जाने का प्रधानमंत्री जी ने देशवासियों को निवेदन किया है। सबकी एक ही लक्ष्य है, उस काम पे जुटे।